We'll get started in about 60 seconds. We're not going to wait around too long. I want to give you guys this message as quick as possible. All right? So we'll give it about 15 seconds. We'll go right in. hmm So let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? I appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is Amon Asherenew from asherenew.com. You already know. So today I want to speak about what's going on for the 6th week of January. So officially, this is the first day of the 6th week. So this is Sunday, January 31st. So you know we always start with the mathematics. And after we break down the mathematics, I have pulled a couple cards to fuller illustrate the message for the week. The first thing is to understand the 6th degree. The 6th degree, because it's the 6th week, we understand that the 6 resonates with the planet Venus. Because the number 6 resonates with the planet Venus, we're dealing with the energy of balance. Not just balance for the sake of balance, balance on the physical plane, physical balance. What do we mean by physical balance? Whenever we are talking about the physical plane, we are dealing with the physical body. So we're talking about balance and harmony of the physical body, of the physical vessel, of your physical chariot. To harmonize your physical chariot. Venus also deals with art and creativity, artistic talents, abilities, and all things on the creative plane. So because we are dealing with the energy of Venus, we will have an influence of artistic currency flowing through the ethers. And this artistic current will be due to the pull of Venus. So we will feel this pull for the next 7 days until we go into the 7th degree or the 7th week. The reason I want to emphasize these numbers because they play a part in the happenings of our reality. So the more we understand the background influences and the background energies as to what is occurring before us, we will have no problem decoding the reality that we witness as the observer. We must always remember, as the observer, we are the mathematicians. We are the ones that give life the equations to solve. What do I mean by that? You can say life is the matrix or a matrix. Because life is the matrix or a matrix, it is our job to, just like you plant a seed in hopes of a future harvest, we must experiment with the matrix. We must experiment within the matrix. And because Venus is a feminine attribute or ability or gender, because we can look at these energies on any level, as above, so below. So because we are dealing with the feminine currency of Venus, which is the Earth Mother, we are dealing with the currency of the Earth Mother. And whenever we are dealing with the Earth Mother or the energy of the Earth or Mother Earth, we understand Mother Earth produces abundance. Mother Earth is here to nourish us. All of the beings that live on the planet are nourished by the intelligence of the planet Earth. The planet Earth always produces enough for the vessels to manifest their will. So we must be assured that our will is in alignment with the greater whole. And when our will is in alignment with the greater whole, we are nourished by Mother Earth. Because all of these entities that we call planets have intelligence and they can be interacted with. And because we can interact with these intelligence in these vessels of divine intelligence, us being the center of the universe, we are here to interact with the elements of the physical plane or the elements of the earth. Because the earth is ground zero for all of the astronomical influences, as all of the planets influence the earth. So, because the earth is the center stage of all this astrological tension, whether good or bad, this is why the science of time, which we call astrology, can always deepen our meditation and our ability to properly understand the reality around us and within us. There's always a connection between what is occurring inside of us and what is occurring outside of us. We understand all this. We've been hearing all these things for years. We already understand the law of attraction. We understand the Aquarian information, the Aquarian age. We understand all of these principles that we have been hearing for the last decade. All of these things have been an introduction into deeper mysteries. These deeper mysteries is to become the mathematician. The purpose of 2012 was for us to become aligned or attuned to higher frequencies. And of those higher frequencies, this includes the planetary forces. To be able to align yourself with the planetary forces is the same thing as expressing the will of the creator or the supreme intelligence, which is I, self, law, and master. The divine intelligence is none other than the expression of your will. Your will is a expression of the divine intelligence. So when we express our will without inhibitions, without all of these things that we put in our way, these obstacles that we can move easily when we have divine inspiration. It's just like being possessed by a spirit. For anyone who has ever witnessed the possession of spirit or the possession of a person by a spirit, you realize that they can do things that you cannot do as a regular human being. They can endure higher levels of pain. They can go into deeper chambers of the subconscious and the unconscious, so on and so forth. Divine possession allows you to do what you cannot do when you are in your normalized state of mind. So, as the mathematician, because we are now aligned, we should be aligned at this point or by now. We should be aligned. We should be attuned. You should be able to pick up on the frequencies now at this point. You should be able to decode the frequencies around you. You should at this point be an empath. Your energy, your aura should be sensitive at this point so that all of these things don't sound so far-fetched. They do not sound mysterious because they are all ordered by a higher intelligence that we call the planetary forces. The planets are also referred to as the heavens. So the planets are also the heavens, the planets, so on and so forth. So to go to heaven is essentially to go to higher intelligence, to travel the cosmos, to travel with your chariot, with your Merkaba through the cosmos. When we pass on, when we die, our spirit goes towards the cosmos through the Orion constellation and through all of these destinations that we have to encounter to cleanse our karma before we reach our final destination, and then do it all again if that is our wish, or go beyond what we know as heaven. You can go beyond the perceived heaven because the perceived heaven is just a illuminated state of bliss. An illuminated state of bliss. It's just like the Adam and Eve story when they are in the Garden of Eden. You can say they are in a perfected state, but they are ignorant of who they really are. And once they became aware of who they really are, now they had to expand beyond heaven. This is the purpose when you are able to expand beyond your idea of heaven. I think I'm going too deep now because it's getting it's getting glitchy. But y'all get the point. It's time to go beyond heaven. It's time to go beyond the preconceived notions of what is possible. It's time to go beyond just being aware of what's going on around you. It's time to go beyond the law of attraction. We understand the law. We must apply the law. And there is no way to apply the law without utilizing the planets. You must utilize the planets. You must utilize the science of time. If you do not utilize the science of time, how can you attune yourself to a higher intelligence? In order to attune yourself to higher spirits or intelligence, of course, you're going to start with the planets and you're going to start with the zodiac, which are the 22 points. You have the 10 planets and you have the 12 zodiac, which gives you the 22 points. You're going to start with these 22 points, which are 22 dimensions of your consciousness. You're going to start with these 22 dimensions of your consciousness, which allows you to attune yourself to the frequencies of higher intelligence, which includes the planets, which includes the stars, which includes all of the things beyond what we know as the visible creation. Going beyond the visible creation is another way of saying going to the triple stages of darkness. The triple stages of darkness is going into Kabbalistic terminology, the Ein Sof Sofer. When you are going into the Ein Sof Sofer, you are going to the limitless light. You are going into the infinite. You are taking your mind beyond the gnosis. When you take your mind beyond the gnosis, you dissolve any preconceived notions of your heaven. The purpose of dissolving your preconceived notions about heaven is to free yourself from all of the things that we feel that will stop us from achieving that idolized state of mind. What do I mean? If the average person thinks that they have to do X amount of good deeds to enter into heaven, if they do not reach that goal or that number in time, because you can say no one knows when they're going to die, so who knows what you actually have to do and if you will actually have done enough at the time of your death. People don't want to think about these things. However, we put ourselves in these boxes whether we're thinking about these things consciously or not. We put ourselves within these dimensions of, if I do not meet these standards, then I cannot achieve my idolized state of heaven. And when we create that idolized state of heaven, we also create hell, because that is the law of polarity. Whenever we are creating heaven for ourselves, we are also creating hell for ourselves. That hell just means you not being in that realized state, you not being able to manifest that idolized state that you visualize in your mind. So you can say, well, if I did not meet that goal, or if I do not meet that idolized state, then that will be the equivalent to hell, irregardless to the actual physical experiences or circumstances that you might be encountering. Because you did not reach that idolized peak, you will be in a state of hell. It will be of a mental nature, not a physical hell, but a mental hell, because we know that these are all idolized psychological concepts anyway, to help us understand the various degrees of consciousness, because it is consciousness that is complex. It is not life that is complex. It is not God that is complex. It is not the devil that is complex. It is not the spirits that are complex. It is the consciousness that is complex. So the more we understand our consciousness, the better relationship we have with all of these things that appear to be unknown and mysterious. So as we expand our consciousness beyond the idolized state of heaven, to go into the limitless light, the Ein Sof Sofer, to go into the triple stages of darkness, to encounter the goddess Sophia. This is the purpose, to encounter the goddess Sophia and to become that avatar. Sophia is the foundation of philosophy. Philosophy comes from Sophia. She is the foundation. So your encounters with Sophia allows you to expand your awareness of what we call philosophy, which is the science of understanding the natural laws of the universe and how you can interact with these things. This is the purpose of why we are accomplishing the great work. It's not enough to live in your idolized state of heaven. Can you go beyond your state of heaven? Because if you can go beyond your state of heaven, then you reach the infinite. Then you reach the limitless light. Do not be fooled by the perceived light because it is still an illusion. All reality is an illusion, so we must not be fooled by the apparent manifestations of illusion. Because as long as we are spellbound by illusion, we will never see the limitless light. We will never see the triple stages of darkness, which is the real reality, the real chaos, which we do not perceive. We only perceive the illusion. So when you break beyond your idolized state of heaven, because I guarantee most people's idolized state of heaven has something to do with illusion. It's some visualized state of illusion, of a perfected state. And again, if they do not meet that criteria, then they will be in a state of hell. When you go beyond this criteria of heaven and what you can and cannot do and what liberates you and what spellbinds you, you will find yourself at the feet of Sophia. You will find yourself at the feet of the forces of nature. You will find yourself at the feet of what we call karma. And when you find yourself at the feet of karma, then you begin to rethink your whole approach and your whole strategy to what we call life. So never think that life is hard. Never think that life is overwhelming or we are facing too much or things, are not going as planned. All this is just showing you and demonstrating your states of consciousness. And based on the planetary influence, based on your location, based on what's going on, based on your natal chart, based on all of these occult sciences that no one knows, they may have information on it, but they do not know it from within. There's not too many people who have their whole natal chart memorized. There's not too many people who just have all of these signs and symbols and magical seals memorized so that they can pull it out whenever they need it. Most people are still reaching for notebooks. We must go beyond the notebook. You must reach for experience, real experience beyond the illusion. And real experience beyond the illusion is what gives you the wisdom that everyone seeks. The actual goal is not some physical object, it's wisdom. What is more valuable than wisdom? This is why Solomon in the Bible was the wisest man, because he sought nothing but wisdom. So once again, when you seek nothing but wisdom, that is the equivalent of saying, I'm going beyond a perceived illusion. Even if you can visualize the greatest of the grand of the entirety of the universe, it is still an illusion because you can visualize it. It's still manifested on falsehood because it's still an illusion. So as an observer, we want to dissolve illusion. And when you dissolve illusion, you are not fooled by all of the distractions that we find within this matrix. The matrix can be manipulated and glitched once you go beyond it. We are not here to master the matrix. We are here to go beyond the matrix. You glitch the matrix by going beyond it. You glitch the matrix by going into the limitless light. When you allow yourself to step into this limitless light, you can see the matrix from the outside. You can see the inner components from the outside. How do you see the inner components from the outside? It's the same reason why people say go within, go within, go within. They're not telling you to go within your physical body. What are people referring to when they say go within? Where are you going within? The only thing you're going to find within your physical body is a whole bunch of blood and organs and things that you probably don't want to see. So we're not talking about the inside of the physical body. Are they talking about the inside of the brain? There is no inside of the brain other than things that you probably don't want to see. But if we're talking about the mind, if we're talking about consciousness, consciousness is not centralized. Consciousness is decentralized. What do I mean by consciousness is decentralized? It's not linked to, you could say, one computer. That's what people think. People think that their consciousness is linked to one computer and you are just who you are and that's the end all be all. But we are not linked to one computer. We are linked to a vast network of computers that we call spirits, that we call the forces of the universe. We are linked to all of these things, which are just expressions of the all. The all is the infinite. We are connected to all of these spirits, all of these computers, all of these intelligence that we can access whenever we choose because they are states of consciousness, and consciousness is not centralized. So that means you can go to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south, to the eastern hemisphere, to the western hemisphere. There's no limit when we refer to consciousness. We may be limited to what we can do with our physical body, but there is no limitations to consciousness. You can project yourself to any dimension on this physical plane or the astral plane with your consciousness. Your consciousness is not limited. Your consciousness is liberated. But we must learn how to navigate this limitless light, because the infinite will be too much for the average person to handle. Like, if you can do anything, go anywhere, be anyone, do, the average person would be overwhelmed. They really wouldn't know where to start, and they would end up getting bored. Because the true secret, it has nothing to do with the physical plane. You can have everything that the physical plane has to offer. You can have all of these things. You can have unlimited resources. Eventually, you're going to get bored because life has an expiration date. We're not really here to be here for an extended amount of time. This is just a playing field on something that is grander. So the real reality is after death. It's not before death, it's after death. So the greatest fear that people have is what happens after death. You actually go into the veil that is beyond illusion. You go beyond the veils of illusion. And when you go beyond the veils of illusion, you see what was real the entire time. You can just truly perceive it at the stage of death. You just truly perceive it consistently, the real reality. And this reality dissolves. You truly perceive what is called universe B as reality, or universe A dissolves. That's all it is. The dissolving of one reality and the manifestation of another. So when we focus our energy on the manifestation of another, on the manifestation of universe B, and allow universe A to dissolve, so we're not trying to be the master of universe A. Universe A needs to be dissolved. That system or that matrix needs to be dismantled so that a new system is put in place. So the masters of the old matrix will not be the masters of the new matrix. And because we are entering into a new matrix, you have to be the master of the new system, not the old system. And the new system requires us to be laced with Aquarian information and Aquarian knowledge, to be attuned, but not just attuned to be the mathematician, because the Aquarius is where astrology comes from, is where the occult comes from. That is all degrees of Aquarius. That's all Aquarius. So anything esoteric, anything occult, anything that stimulates your higher intelligence deals with the Aquarian frequency, deals with the 11th house of the zodiac. All this comes from the Aquarian information, the Aquarian age, the Aquarian knowledge, whatever we want to call it. This is just to get you attuned of planetary forces, all of the stuff that we read, all of the stuff that we study. You have a real life connection and experience with these things. That is the whole purpose of attunement. And once you get to that level, then that's when the real fun happens, because now you can be able to be the alchemist. You can be able to be the alchemist. You become the alchemist working with various elements. That's what we see when we see the tree of life. It's alchemy. You experience alchemy. What happens when I mix these two things together? What happens when I mix these two things together? What happens when I put this together with this? All this is the births and the foundations of alchemy. All of the things that appear to be complex and medieval and just out of date is one huge system of correspondences or symbols. Because it doesn't matter what you study in the occult, you're going to come back to the same symbols. You're going to come back to those 22 symbols. You're going to come back to those planetary symbols. You're going to come back to the zodiac symbols. You're going to come back to the Hebrew symbols. You're going to come back to the tarot. You're going to come back to the same foundation. It does not matter where you start or where you end. The foundation is the same. And when that foundation is solidified, then the infinite becomes merely a conversation to be had. And with that, I bear peace.